Salvete amici, here's an introduction to the Chapter 34 cartoon captions, since they introduce extremely important grammar, namely the subjunctive mood. The subjunctive mood is the mood of verbs that's used when it's not a statement of fact or a question of fact. So in the previous chapters, both books, uh, every verb you met was what's called the indicative mood, which is to say a statement or question of fact. Um, Quintus is an ass. Or a question of fact, Quintus, are you an ass? Or it could be in any time. This is regardless of time. This is regardless of tense. Quintus was an ass. Quintus will be an ass. Quintus has always been an ass. Uh, it doesn't matter the time. As long as it's a statement or question of fact, it's indicative. Quintus, are you an ass? Starting in chapter 34, you're going to meet verbs in the subjunctive. Subjunctive, by distinction, is when there's any doubt or uncertainty in the statement. It could be in wish, it could be in exhortation, and in Latin it could be many other things. So we're going to meet the subjunctive a little bit at a time, and therefore it's actually going to be pretty easy. So let's just jump right in. However, let's start with sentence number 2, cartoon caption number 2. I didn't include the picture, sorry. Festinemos. Quintus inquit. Age Pompeii. Festinemos. Now you may notice right away, or maybe after I point it out, that it's not the expected vowel. We expect festinamos if we want to say we are hurrying. Festinamos, amamos, paramos. But when there's a vowel change, from A to E, for instance, it is present subjunctive. It's present subjunctive. We'll learn what exactly the vowel changes are for each type of verb, but for now, just recognize that it's a vowel change. Festinemos. Let us hurry. And my translation, I didn't type, so hold on a second. So there it is. The translation says, let us hurry. So the present subjunctive, when it's the main verb in the clause, let us hurry. In fact, that could be a sentence all by itself. There, that's even more clear. Quintus said, let us hurry, let's hurry. That's, our book is going to call this use of the present subjunctive the jussive subjunctive. Some books, sometimes we call it the hortatory subjunctive. The names are not important. What's important is that you can recognize it and translate it. So you recognize it as present subjunctive because of the vowel change. And when it's the main verb, that is to say it's not in a subordinate clause, when it's the main verb, you translate it as let us. So we can call it the salad subjunctive, the let us subjunctive. It's not always us. Often it's I, let me hurry. Once in a while it's he or they. But mostly first person, let us, let me. And that's the first use of the subjunctive. It's very easy. There's a vowel change, and if it's the main verb, you translate it as let us or let me, whatever the ending may be. Now, what about when it's not the main verb? When it's not the main verb, that is to say when it's introduced by a subordinating conjunction like ut, when it's not the main verb. So in this sentence, for instance, viserunt is the main verb. Quintus and Pompey visited Delphi. Latin uses the subjunctive in these subordinate clauses very often, such as this one. And here, because our main verb was some kind of past tense, I can't use the present subjunctive. I need a past subjunctive, which the book calls imperfect. The past subjunctive, or imperfect, looks like, look here, looks like an infinitive, videre, with an ending stuck on. And the past subjunctives in these subordinate clauses are translated as might when we're translating very literally or kind of posh English. Quintus and Pompey visited Delphi so that they might see, in order that they might see the shrine of Apollo. Now, a much easier way to translate these clauses, and it will pretty much work every time, is just translate it like it's an infinitive. Even though it's not an infinitive, translate it like it's an infinitive. To see the shrine. Why? Because we don't use the subjunctive in these clauses. We don't say may and might very often. So why not say it in normal English? To see the shrine of Apollo. And you may ask, why is the subjunctive used here in Latin? Even though I started off by saying the subjunctive is when there's doubt or uncertainty or something like that. If you think about it, there is uncertainty in the statement because Quintus and Pompey went to Delphi to see the shrine. There's no guarantee that they were going to see it. You're not making a statement. They saw the shrine. That's indicative. They went to Delphi, indicative, so that they might see. So Latin uses the subjunctive here because there is inherently some doubt in that statement. So let's just look at number 3 and 4 real quick because they're pretty much the same. They climbed the Via Sacra so that they might arrive at the temple. And this is, again, the ongoing past subjunctive. Why is it the past subjunctive? Because I started past. So that they might see. But I suggest, so that they might arrive. I suggest translating it as to arrive. Okay, last but not least, number 4, many suppliants were waiting in front of the temple, and this is going to be the same. Again, it started in some kind of past tense, so I'm going to use the past subjunctive. Notice it looks like an infinitive. So that they might receive the oracle of the god. So that they might receive the oracle of the god. I suggest translate it as to receive. Okay, almost done. So we had a present subjunctive used as a main verb. You translate it as let us. You have a past subjunctive. In the subordinate clauses, you're translating as might, so that they might, but I suggest translate it as to. Last but not least, what if your first verb, we're going to look at one more subordinate clause, but what if the first verb isn't past, but rather present? Visunt. Quintus and Pompey are visiting Delphi. What if the first verb is present or future or something that's not past? Then you don't use the past subjunctive, but rather the present subjunctive again. There's the vowel change. Remember, we had a vowel change over here. You'll learn which vowels change very shortly. But for now, it's a vowel change. It's a present subjunctive. However, it's not a main verb. If it were a main verb, you're going to translate it as let us. Since it's in a subordinate clause, you're going to say in kind of Victorian English, Quintus and Delphi are visiting in order that they may see the shrine, versus in the past you said might. That's a very Victorian distinction, but I guess if we want to be really technically correct, we'll do it. They visited so that they might see. They are visiting so that they may see. The present subjunctive is may. But there's an easy way around that bother about may and might. Just translate it as to, in which case we don't have to distinguish in our translation. We'll translate both of these subordinate clauses the same. Quintus and Pompey are visiting Delphi to see the shrine. Just like we translated up here. They visited to see the shrine. So if you go with my suggesting of translating them as to, you don't have to worry about distinguishing may and might and when to use which one. Translate both of them as to. But you should recognize that the present subjunctive is used in these subordinate clauses when the main verb was present. The past subjunctive is used in these subordinate clauses when the first verb was some kind of past. Perfect, imperfect. Okay, and I think that's it.